One of the fundamental things I try to teach everybody, teach all my patients, and is we need to digest our food. In our mouth is the only place our brain can analyze what we're eating. Our body is made of 60 to 100 trillion cells, and each one of those cells is connected to the brain by 12 nerves. One's for hot, one's for cold, one's for nutrition, one's for position, all these information. So the brain knows what every cell in your body wants and needs all the time. And it's got a backlist. It's got a list of all the vitamins and minerals and oils and proteins and nutrients it needs. And it knows which body part needs it. So when you go to eat something, when you put the food in the mouth, that's where it has to be analyzed. Because nothing gets analyzed in your stomach or in your intestines. It's in your mouth where your body looks and counts how many calciums, how many magnesiums, how much protein, how much fat, how much bacteria and fungus and all the other things too, and how many chemicals and toxins. And so all that gets analyzed in your mouth. That's why you have the sweet, sour, bitter, salty taste receptors. And immediately it connects with the brain. So your brain is looking for all these nutrients. So when you chew something 4 or 5 times, what ends up happening is all you're doing is just massaging it a little bit. And then you swallow it, and when you chew 4 or 5 times, your stomach will only produce 4 or 5 drops of digestive enzymes. Hardly enough to dissolve that bowl of food. So when people don't chew, they'll tend to take a few bites, and then what do? Next? They take a big drink of liquid to kind of wash it down, make sure it got down there. Well, what's wrong with that? The problem is that what does the stomach do? The stomach does 2 things. 1, it dissolves minerals. 2, it dissolves proteins. And it's the only place in your body that's acid. And you need a really strong acid to dissolve proteins and minerals. Just like those old James Bond movies. Body falls in a vat of acid, dissolves in seconds. Body falls in a swimming pool, diluted, just floats. So when you take that big drink, and you're just washing away and diluting all that acid. So what ends up happening is you get 0 protein and 0 minerals dissolved. So when people take Tums and Rolaids after a big meal, or if they take a big drink, they're going to interfere with that acid function, the normal function of the body. And your stomach is supposed to be extremely acid, and that acid pulls the proteins apart, pulls the minerals apart. So if you're chewing 20, 40, 60 times per mouthful and really grinding it up so you're not swallowing big lumps, you basically chew till the food's broken up into a paste. And then you swallow it, your brain will be able to see all those nutrients and all the minerals and all the vitamins and be able to tell your stomach what's needed to digest it. Tell the next part of your digestion, which is the gallbladder, pancreas, what their role will be to finish digestion. And it just gets your cells ready. So when you chew 5 times, let's say your body needed 100 units of calcium at that point in time. And let's say there was 10 in that bite, but your brain only counted 1, or 2, then the brain will say, sorry everybody, I get 1 calcium, heart gets the other one, nobody else gets them because that's all there was. So there was plenty of minerals in there and vitamins, but you won't get them if they're not identified because your stomach there's no analysis that goes on there. It just responds from the orders from the mouth and the brain when you chew. So in order to keep yourself from being nutritionally deficient, you have to chew your food. Drink more before you eat, less during and after. The next thing that happens, and this is real important, so the next thing that happens is when that hot burning food leaves your stomach and it's all dissolved easily, then that's where it goes into the small intestine. And right there, that's where the gallbladder and pancreas sit. And the gallbladder, that's how your body gets rid of cholesterol. So your gallbladder is full of all that bile, all the cholesterol, all the fats, all the poisons that your liver's pulled out, and that is extremely alkaline. And it's the most toxic place in your body. If you look inside an animal, a human, the brightest organ in there is the gallbladder. And it's God, Buddha, Mother's Nature, whoever's way of saying, don't touch it, watch out, dangerous. So when that hot burning acid comes out of your stomach, that's when the gallbladder squirts out all that cholesterol, all the bile, all the poisons, and that's how your body detoxifies yourself. That's how you lower your cholesterol. That's how you digest and dissolve the fats and the carbohydrates that are coming in. And if you neutralize the stomach acid, then guess what? The gallbladder can't work. And then what happens? Well, then your cholesterol starts going up. And what also happens, well, when somebody has something like arthritis, well, what I'll do is I'll look at what's arthritis. Well, arthritis is where your joints are stiff and achy in the morning. Okay, what would cause stiff and achy joints? Well, lack of lubricant in your joints. The joints get a little dry. And why would your joints get dry? Well, because they run out of lubricant. Well, what's the lubricant? The lubricant is pure protein. It's called synovial fluid, and synovial fluid is protein about 30 times more concentrated than tissue. So why would your body steal proteins from your joints or not replace them? Why? Because you're not digesting them. So if you're taking big chunks of protein and swallowing it and not dissolving it, then it's just going to pass right out your colon. And that's why so many people are starving to death. That's why I'm so busy all the time, is because people aren't digesting. They're not getting the nutrients. They come in, they're starving. So in order to replace the lubricants in your joints, you have to chew your food. And drink more before you eat, less during and after. Most civilized countries on this planet typically have their big meal in the middle of the day. And then you have a lighter meal at the end of the day. And that's the way things are supposed to be. A good breakfast and lunch are the most important meals of the day. The dinner should be something light but not in this country. We have a small lunch and then a big dinner, and it just sits there all night. And two things you'll absorb without digestion. Number one is sugar, and number two is water. They take no digestion. Everything else requires digestion. So that's why people are eating, and they gain weight, and they've got body size, and they've got energy to keep going, but they're starving to death. So that's when you start having symptoms of this and that disease and that process and that itis and that inflammation. And as I said, 95% of the American population will die of an itis or an inflammation because we're so out of balance. And it's easy to put it back. Just chew your food. If you're actually chewing your food, and you eat something that is bad or disgusting, you won't be able to swallow it. Because after a while it tastes like cardboard, or ooh, how can you eat that? And it's just using your brain, letting the brain connect with your cells and talk to it. Slow down a little bit and let nature work the way it's supposed to. So digestion's the key. You have to chew your food well. The more you chew, the better you'll digest. So when somebody has heartburn or their stomach bloats out after a meal, what's happening? Well, the food's sitting there. If you drink while you're eating and you keep diluting it, then the food's going to swell up, because it can't go down into the small intestine because the small intestine's small. So you got this big piece of meat or cheese, or it can't get in there till it disintegrates enough. So it's going to sit in the stomach, and eventually, if it's not going down and you're adding liquid and it starts swelling, it's going to come back up your throat, and that's heartburn. So what do they tell you to take? 20 times a day on television or in the news or at magazines. Take an antacid. Well, the only problem with that is you're going to stop all digestion. So you'll get zero protein, zero minerals. You won't lower your cholesterol, and that kind of covers most problems people have. Nutritional deficiency.